MB News producer Sydney Bowles, and you're turning in to another edition of our Community Update, where we bring you the latest from experts and leaders in our community on issues that matter to you. I'm here today to talk about community utility aggregation, which is a way that the town is now offering a potentially cheaper option for energy service, which can be really great, especially in those expensive winter months. My guests today are Sam Hockenbury, finance analyst with the town of Burlington, and Mark Cappadona, who's the president of Colonial Power Group, which has been consulting with the town on this. Mark, Sam, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so Sam, I want to start with the absolute 101 basics here. What is municipal utility aggregation?
So I think the most important thing to think about is what does your electric bill look like? There are two primary charges. One is the delivery fee, and the other is your supply fee. Delivery is Eversource, so that's the cost of their poles, the wires, everything that they need to do to get the electricity into your home. That remains unchanged. The supply side is what municipal aggregation addresses. So instead of Eversource bidding every 6 months on the electrical market from producers, the town uses the electrical load, so how much people in town are using, as here, come bid on what we'll be demanding from you, and we're going to lock into a slightly longer contract. And that assurance of how much we'll use and the length of time helps bring that supply amount down relative to what Eversource can do. And so that's what we're trying to address, is find a way to get the supply cost down. This is not addressing delivery. This is not us turning into Wakefield or Reading with a municipal light plan. This is just getting a better supply contract in place for the residents.
Mark, does that sound about right?
It's perfect. That's
okay.
Exactly what we're doing.
So, fantastic. So talk about Colonial Power Group. What's your role in this? So
Colonial Power Group is an aggregator that helps the communities through the process, whether it be, the beginning process. There's a local process. It went to town meeting way back in 2013. And then the process of going through the select board, creating a plan, onto the Department of Energy Resources, getting that consultation letter, and then final approval of an order by the Department of Public Utilities. After that point, we kind of turn into a broker, and from then on in, we take that electrical load from all the users that are on basic service with Eversource. We create a load profile, we put it out in the marketplace, we have suppliers bid on that, and then the low bidder is the winning bidder for the town, if the town decides to move forward. Again, we bring all sorts of options that aren't currently available. And because your load is so large, 6 months, 12, 18, 24, 36, 30 months, different flavors of green. So all of that is possible under aggregation. So it's all about choice and stability.
So you present the options to the town, and then the town can decide this is what we're going to offer to our residents, or what our plan is going to be.
That's exactly correct. And the goal here is allow the town to make the decisions, allow our firm to do all the work, do the mailings and those things.
Sam, to play devil's advocate a little bit, why would the town be able to offer to aggregate our users to ask for a lower rate than Eversource, which has presumably most consumers in Massachusetts?
So I can't get super specific as a good answer for that. Mark might be able to answer it better, but I think part of it is regulations, and then load profiles, how they vary, also changes.
So that's one of them for certain. But one of the biggest reasons is the surety of your load and when you're going out to bid. So Eversource just goes out regardless of price, and unfortunately I believe everyone in Burlington saw this a few years back. Regardless if prices are high or not, all they're doing is following a process. They buy half their load for 12 months, and they buy that twice a year, and they ladder those two purchases. That's not what the town is doing. The town is saying to a supplier, this load is going to be here for the next 24, 36 months, 18 depending on the curve. Okay. So that surety gives them a better price,
Okay.
less risk.
Awesome. Okay, so Sam, give me a little bit of the history here. Burlington had this for a while, and then we didn't, and now we do again. So what happened there?
So Mark had indicated that back then 2013 town meeting approved the town to be able to become an aggregator. The select board approved a plan, there was municipal aggregation in place, and I think it was a 2-year contract, it might have been 18-month, but the last 6 months of that contract, the Eversource rate dropped beneath what the municipal aggregation rate was. And so with the lower pricing, people could switch out of the municipal aggregation plan back to Eversource basic service, which is great for them, right? Everybody got to save more money by making that switch. But because the rates were lower, the town was like, we can't offer a better deal, we'll just stop doing it. And when it became available to do it again, we had to go back to the DPU, and this was 2019, and DPU, held it up, and then the pandemic happened, and 5 years later, we finally got approval to actually do it. So that's why there was a huge gap. Hopefully a gap like that would never happen again, but we're trying to lock back in and make this a regular service.
And we did. We signed the contract just in the last few days, is that right?
That's correct. A contract was signed.
Okay. Can you give any specifics on what that looked like, what you ended up deciding on?
I believe it was a 24-month. I don't have the details in front of me, but I know that the town will be making I don't know if you're ready to make one now, or I know you'll be making an announcement soon.
Yeah, I mean, I have the details of what so we did a 24-month contract, and as approved by the select board, there will be 3 options. The first is the standard, what everybody on basic service will be defaulted to roll into. There are 2, I'm calling them opt-up for green energy, and so that's 5% more of local wind, solar, and landfill gas energy. And then the other is 25% more of that. And the pricing, the standard is 13 cents a kilowatt hour, so that's just 13 cents per the unit of electricity that we measure how much you're using. And then the other one is the slightly more green is like about 13 and a half, and then the significantly more green is just over 14 cents, and roughly what we would project Eversource pricing to look like going forward. So you could have a lot more green energy for what you're paying in your electric bill now, or you could save and get the same level of green energy, or save a little bit and get slightly more green.
Okay, so let's recap a little bit, because we've done a lot here. So
Right.
essentially, correct me where I'm wrong, tell me where I'm missing stuff. Essentially what's going on here is the town has signed on to a kind of plan that is offered through the state, where instead of Eversource creating the contracts from the suppliers to bring energy to Burlington, Eversource will still be delivering the energy, but you, Colonial Power Group, have worked with suppliers to come to a slightly lower rate right now that we're locked into for the next 2 years for folks who choose to stay in this plan that they're sort of being opted into. Eversource's rate might change, but the idea is that because we're locked into this rate, over time we'll have, broadly speaking, a lower rate, people will, broadly speaking, save, and there's an opportunity to opt into higher levels of green energy, for roughly the same cost that you would be getting now. Am I about right there?
Yes, just 2 things I want to mention.
Please.
One thing is, for the next 24 months, that will be a stable rate, so people can count on that for the next 24 months. That rate will not change. The one thing that everyone needs to know is, before this program goes into effect, everyone has a choice to make. They'll get a mailing. If they do nothing, this is an opt-out municipal aggregation. It's for ease of customer, meaning if you want to join, you don't have to do anything. Only if you wish not to participate, you simply sign the card, send it back, and you will never be enrolled in the program. I just want you to know there's no fees and no penalties. Anyone can come back that lives in town, that has a meter in Burlington, can come back to program at any time without fee or penalty. They can join it and leave it.
What would be the calculation that a homeowner might want to make, right? I mean, presumably this is a good thing, right? You're getting opted into lower rates. You don't have to do anything. You just get like fresh piping hot energy delivered to your home, you know, and now it's a little bit cheaper. Why might someone, is there, like, what would be the rationale or what would be the calculus maybe? I know you're sort of speculating, but is it, you know, like, why might someone want to opt into or like opt out of this for potentially higher rates? You know what I mean?
So in this scenario, the way I see it, given where Eversource's basic service rate is, it's going to be 15.7 in August. This is a lower rate, so probably most people will decide to stay in. And let's just say in February when the rate changes, for some reason it was below the 13 and went down to 12. Someone that may be on a fixed income might say, I'm going to opt out of this program for the next 6 months, take the lower rate, and then come back to the program if Eversource's rates swing up the following August. So if someone's paying attention, this is another choice that hasn't existed in the past. So the Attorney General has said stay away from those third-party supply contracts, but the municipal aggregation contracts are solid. So this is one of those things that the town is literally bringing a choice that did not exist in the marketplace prior. So back in 2022, when the rates went through the roof, had the town had the ability to go back out to the marketplace, there would have been a rate there that people could have found solace in.
Right.
But given no program at that time, all there was third-party supply and basic service. So the choices weren't as robust. So that's one of the things that, from my perspective, it's truly about choice, and this program brings another choice that did not exist in the marketplace.
Right. I mean, I think there's been a lot of conversation at the select board and sort of around town about the different levels of understanding and levels of engagement that people have with this process, right? I think particularly around seniors who might not be so tech savvy, the question of how much attention are people paying to their utility bills. The idea, what I'm hearing you saying, is that for folks who might not be that clued in, you get the utility bill, you pay it, that's all you really think about. You're opted in, you don't have to think about it, you're good to go. But if you're a little bit more engaged, you really want to be, you know, scrimping every penny, you can really be paying attention and you know, toggle back and forth, or you know, just think a little bit more about what might be best for your household. Is that about right?
That's exactly correct.
Okay. I want to talk about some of the nitty-gritty details of how this works, the behind-the-scenes stuff. And this is not stuff that folks need to worry about, right? You get your power, that's it, you're done. But I think, like, just to like get a little bit, like, what's going on here? What kind of suppliers are you working with? Like, when you go out to bid, what does that mean?
Okay, so the actual effect of going out to bid is taking all like 8,500 accounts in town and creating what we call a load profile. That's nothing more than everyone's load together so that they can actually take a look at that.
So saying Burlington uses X amount of energy per month or per year, or whatever.
Per month,
okay.
And then in total per year. That's
okay.
exactly what they do. They take a look at it by industrial, commercial, residential, because every one of those classes uses energy at a different time. There's a different load profile for each.
Okay.
All of that, then they run that through what I'll call the meat grinder, if you will. They come up with a price, and then there are approximately 4 or 5 suppliers that actually serve municipal aggregation in Massachusetts. They do a good job, and what does that mean? That means that they're actually going to give us a price for a set term, 12, 24, 36.
So is that like a natural gas plant? Is that like a wind company? Like who is it?
So the companies that do it are Direct Energy, it's Constellation, it's Dynegy is another, or Vistra is the parent, and a company called First Point Power. They all have so they don't necessarily, this is going to sound odd, have to own generation.
Okay.
They can just buy that energy out of the market.
I hear you. So they're kind of the middle suppliers, middle people, and then it comes through.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. And then, Sam, the energy comes through Eversource transmission lines. Eversource deals with all the upkeep and all that stuff.
Right.
So the town's not going to be out there.
And your bill's still going to say Eversource on it.
Yep.
The only thing on it that'll change is when it says the supply, instead of saying the name of whatever they bought for supply, it will say Burlington Municipal Aggregation Supply.
Okay, so your bill will look the same. You pay the same way.
You're going to contact the same rep.
Yep.
All of the.
Okay.
All
Any
that stays in
problems
place.
that the average consumer actually has is going to stay the same. Not very often does the consumer deal with the electron. So if I have a problem with my bill, I'm going to call Eversource. If the power's out, I'm going to call Eversource. If I need one of those budget bills or I have automatic withdrawal, it's still all Eversource.
Okay.
From that perspective, net metering credits, if you have solar on your roof, that's all going to work the same because it's all through the utility. All stays in place.
Now, what about those higher green energy options, and then people who, sorry, this is like 3 questions in one. Let me break that down.
Okay.
For people who maybe have solar panels on their house, what happens to them?
So for them, nothing will change other than when you're using power, you're going to use power at the aggregation rate if you stay in the program. So let's just say the rate is 13 compared to the 15. So when you're using it, you're going to pay 13 cents for any kilowatt you use. The utility will credit you 15 cents. Just be aware, the knife cuts both ways. You could be under, and you could be, let's just say the basic service rate went down to, we're saying it's 12 cents. When you're using it, you're going to be paying 13, and they'll be crediting you the 12 cents for any kilowatts that you're generating on the roof.
But you still get to use, say you're fully powering your house on solar power. You don't need to worry about this. That'll still be true.
Yes.
If you don't fully cover your energy usage, the rest that you get you up to 100% of your usage will be at that rate.
That lower aggregation rate is correct.
Okay. And then talk about the people who aren't on the Eversource basic plan. I don't fully understand how this works. So what kind of people are those, and what happens to them?
So those people are just on third-party supply contracts. And I know everyone here gets many mailings, whether it's Constellation, Clean Energy, so forth. If you signed up for one of those, the town isn't going to get your information. It's only people on basic service. That doesn't mean that you cannot join the program. That just means you want to check with your supplier, or whoever your supplier actually is, make sure there's no fee or penalty to leave that program. And if there's not, simply go online to colonialpowergroup.com, call us at our 1-800 number, or you can actually call a utility as well and sign up for the program. It's real simple to get in.
Okay. I'm going to ask you guys a question that's a little bit different, and you can pass on this because I don't know if you want to speak to this, that's fine. But how does Eversource generally feel about utility aggregation? Is this like a threat to them?
So great question, first off. Second, no, it's not. By law, they're not allowed to make any profit on the supply. They're happy when people are making these choices because they're only going out because they're forced to by the DPU. So having people do the a municipal aggregation or third-party supply, they're indifferent. They don't know where the electron's coming. When the power goes out, they're indifferent to where your electron's coming from because they have no idea where that electron's coming from. You're not touching their pocketbook. They're a proponent. They're saying you're using the market to your advantage. No problem with the utilities.
Huh, okay, that's really interesting. That's neat that there's not like a tension there.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So, back to everyday people's everyday situations. The town signed this contract pretty recently. What's, Sam, the timeline for the next couple of months?
Right. So we signed it this week, and everyone will receive their letter in mid-August. That'll be when the opt-out, opt-up window opens for the initial phase. So you'll hear more from me, from the town, in the coming weeks about there's a letter coming out. We'll let you know what it looks like, what the envelope looks like, so that it doesn't just get thrown out with your circular, right? Mm-hmm. Like that you get it, you know what it is. Once that's sent out, we'll change the messaging to this is what you can do. You've read it. Here are your options. We'll talk about that again. And that window is open for 30 days. So somewhere around mid-September, the initial opt-out, opt-up period ends. You can still change later. It just won't affect when, come October, what your October meter reads, and yours will be, I think in Burlington, it was like late October when that will kick in, but the contract is effective October 1. So when your October bill or meter reading happens, it'll be then on that new
That's when you'd be switched and you'll start accruing on that. You wouldn't see it on your actual bill until you get your bill in November. With electricity, we use the electricity first, and then we get billed for it. There is a notation on your bill that you're being switched. It's up the top part of your bill, and you'd see that you're being switched from basic service to the Burlington Ag, and then the following month you'll see it on your bill in November.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here, and this is like wonky, difficult ground, especially for folks like me who don't think about this all the time. So let's do one from each of you. Mark, we'll start with you. Give me the, for the average energy user in Burlington, what does this mean? What's the real impact? What's actually changing? What's going to be what they see, and what's the benefit? What is this doing for folks?
So from a monetary standpoint, we're talking about, it's about a 2-cent difference. So each penny is worth about $6. So about $12 a month in savings on the basic rate compared to Eversource's rate. Here's the wonderful thing, as far as I'm concerned, is you've now, if there are any shocks, let's just say there's some geopolitical situation, your rate's going to be that for the next 24 months. That's a wonderful thing, given everything going on in the world today. Second is, you now have a choice in the town to choose to opt up to green up with Eversource, you don't really have that choice. It's an off-bill situation, but you actually can pay a little bit more to green things up if you happen to be in a position where you want to make an environmental decision. The town's brought you 2 different options to do so. And then the biggest thing I would say is, I know that I'm stable. My electricity costs are not going to whipsaw over the next 24 months.
Okay. And Sam, last word to you. From the town's perspective, what does it mean to be offering this?
I think from the town's perspective, we're just trying to take an opportunity that's available to us to help the residents save some money, to give them options, but it's just, I think, an opportunity to try to, in a small way, whatever leverage we can use to continue to make people's lives in Burlington easier or more friendly to your pocketbook.
Okay. Sam Hockenbury, finance analyst, Mark Cappadona, president with Colonial Power Group. Thank you both very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having us.
All right, I'm B News producer Sydney Bowles. Thank you so much for watching.